A very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining this special broadcast of continuation of our discussions on EDO 2020 governorship election, which of course just ended. Took place on Saturday. Results declared yesterday. Winners have emerged. In today's program, we'll be looking at some of the issues that made the election to go in the direction it went. But most importantly, we'll be bringing you the reactions of Edo people to the success of that election. I mean, across Edo State yesterday and even today, it's been celebration galore for the party that emerged victorious in that election. My name is Sonny Duke Okosi, your host on the program, and I'm joined now by Professor Anthony Ijewere. Is a professor of business administration from Novena University. Prof, many thanks for joining us on the program.
It's a great pleasure to be here.
We also have with us Comrade Christopher Ojekere, Senior Programs Officer at Foundation for Good Governance and Social Change. Comrade, many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Sonny.
Okay, a whole lot has been happening, particularly yesterday. We saw wild jubilation across the state on account of the outcome of the election. Let me begin with Prof. What, in your opinion, would you say that jubilation was about? Is it because of the victory? Is it because of the conduct of the election? Or was it just the party that won mobilizing its supporters to come out and celebrate?
Well, I think it's more than just victory, for the party that won. It's far more than that. You see, over the years, Nigerians have not had this so good. And so it's like, can an election be this free and fair? On Saturday you were saying something, that we should take it easy, that let's see what the outcome will be before we start to see whether there are changes or not. Yeah. I think your prediction was right. Yeah. We have discovered that the trend is changing. Election is becoming more free and fair, and Edo State is a very good case study to show that things are changing. So I think people are celebrating the real beauty of democracy. That's what they are celebrating. And it's not just Edo State, it's across the nation. Okay. People are saying, hey, if this thing can be this successful, free and fair, in Edo State, then kudos to President Buhari for ensuring that things are done better, and INEC played their role, security agents played their role, and we saw in some of the clips on Saturday how children were playing in polling centers, which never happened in the past, which means people felt at home, because things were going the way it's supposed to have gone. And at the end of the day, there was no, unlike before, you will see presence of security agents all over the streets, ensuring that there's no breakdown of law and order. But we didn't experience that. They all relaxed. Everybody was just having fun, happy, celebrating that, thank God this election was free and fair. I think Edo State is going to change the political scenario, in the country, in terms of free and fair election, in terms of Nigerians having more confidence that, yes, their vote will count.
Fantastic. Let me get your take on this, the celebration that has engulfed this declaration of election results.
When the heart beats right, everybody's happy. This is the heartbeat of the nation. If you take notice of the massive interest from Edo State at home, Edo State in the diaspora, and other contiguous states of the South-South and beyond to Lagos, Abuja, and everywhere on the Edo election, you will realize that Nigerians saw this Edo State election as different, and we're waiting for the outcome of it to know whether a silent, non-violent political revolution has actually started, or is starting, or is about to start, and to see whether we can begin to latch on to that, to realizing the people's will and the people's interest and the people's participation in our democratic experiment. So when Edo State people decided to have that kind of tacit understanding among them, that for the first time in our political history, let the people lead, which was a mantra popularized by Oshomole, who they consider to now be a renegade of that philosophy, but that they believe the philosophy, and that Adams Oshomole has now reneged on that philosophy, because the people believe that they should lead. So they use this as an experimental, exercise to ensure that Edo people, who represent, as at this time, all progressive across the country and in the diaspora, that our democratic process is about time we should end those primordial status quo kind of politics that are counterproductive, that has not helped the country. Nigerians were getting tired of it. People were getting tired of a few people, a cabal, money bar, deciding our political future. And so they say, look, this time we have come of age. 1999 to now, it's over 20 years. The social media space has been put there. People have shared opinions, people have shared ideas, people have got feed from other countries of the world. Democracy is now being understood as a people's movement, as a people's will, as a people's consent. Let it run. Now that voice was in the space. They needed somebody to translate that concept into concrete reality. Obaseki seemed to have understood that and then put himself in that space. And the people thought that they would be treacherous if they didn't queue up behind this man who have taken that courageous position to dare the hegemonic status quo and then give them their democratic liberation. So when on Saturday, glory to God, thanks to the president, as the prof said, and thanks to the supervening institution, INEC, that supervises election, and thanks to the security agencies, they allowed the people's will to prevail. They allowed democracy and they allowed the ballot, the franchise, the most important incidents and the most important activity on earth after the church is electoral processes, because that is when government, which is ordained by God and accepted by man to control our resources, to organize society into same groups so that we don't live like animals. That's what government is all about. That the people who chose for themselves their own choice, that it was allowed to be. The rejoicing was spontaneous. It didn't have to be organized. The people had no other way to express themselves than to file out into the streets. Now, not in one particular position where you have a group, you could say a paid group, that will come to a particular position and begin to carry banners and placards and hail. In every nook and cranny of Edo State, whether in Edo North, where even the party, the governor, lost some of the local government areas, in the very local government areas where he lost, the people themselves, both those who lost and those who won, are on the streets. Yes, that's why the street is so filled up. They're on the streets in Edo North, there's a street in Jatu, there's a street in Auchi, there's the streets in Uromi, there's the streets in Ekpoma, there's the streets in Benin. So Edo people, this is Edo people, I should expect that those who lost the election should be congratulating Edo State now, and congratulating Edo people, and accepting that this is the will of the people. It is not for anybody now to begin to protest anything. The people came out on the street, spontaneous, on urge, and they are on the street rejoicing, celebrating, not violently. The prof was telling me backstage, he said, have I seen any security forces, personnel holding batons or trying, because it's not a mob. It's a crowd of jubilant voters who are happy that their mandates have at last counted. So it is a victory for democracy. What we should be talking about now is that how can we escalate these gains? How can we build on it? How can we make it a national affair? How can we make it something that Nigeria should emulate and be happy with? So we are happy, Edo people are happy, we are on the streets, and that's the reason why they are on the streets.
Fantastic. Just take you back a little bit to some other information. The returning officer was Professor Akpofure Rimruke from the Federal University of Petroleum Resources Forum in Delta State. He was the returning officer. And immediately he made the declaration that Governor Basaki, having polled 307,955 votes as against Sagi Ezeyamu's 223,616 votes, declared Governor Basaki the winner of that election. That's the final result there. And looking at the performances of the two major contenders, Governor Basaki defeated Pastor Ezeyamu in 13 out of the 18 local government areas. And we can take that further to look at local government in which these results came forth. The re-elected governor, Obasaki, won in Igwebe, Eastern Central, Eastern Northeast, Ikpobaoha, Wunde, Ego, Owan West, Eastern Southeast, Ovia Northeast, Oredo, Eastern West, Ovia Southwest, including Uromo, where his main opponent is from. Pastor Iriamu, on the other hand, won in Owan East, Esako West, Akoko Edo, Esako Central, and Esako East. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on the spread of the result? I know on TMI they will talk a bit on that. What's your take on the spread of the result from Edo South through Edo Central to Edo North Central District, Prof?
Well, it is expected in the sense that Governor Basaki is a project. And before now, I think a lot of people did not really know some of those projects he has put on ground, Perhaps that's why he was nicknamed wait and see governor. And so it was during the campaign, a lot of Edolites, Edo residents, if you like, got to know that, oh, this man's been doing a lot of work here and there. So, and that gave credence to the fact that, oh, this man is a man I think we can trust, especially for what Oshomo also told us that during the time he worked with him as the head of economic team, he never earned salary for a whole 8 years, and that before, if you come up with any project, for him to approve, and if that project is approved, he will follow it up closely, and he will make sure that that work is done, whether you are party faithful or not. So that those type of character, behavior, integrity, gave people the impression that, oh, this man is the type of man we want. And most of the projects he has undertaken, he doesn't just undertake them like that. He goes through the normal process, what we call memorandum of understanding, the popular MOU that they keep saying. And it was very funny during the campaign when the opposition was making mockery of MOU, whereas that is a standard way of going through contract, the person giving out the contract and the person execute. There have to be a paper, that is signed, that specifies what should be done, how it should be done, the duration of the job, and all that, so that you can use that paper as a contractual agreement between the two parties, and that is the standard it is done. If you see the situation room, you see that it was well equipped to also monitor what is going on in the election and all that. I think putting all these things together, I think people now, Edo residents now had more confidence in him. We are not too surprised about the spread of the results. In Esako, we know the former governor, Shomo, did a lot of work there. And so people may perhaps, because of that, have some sympathy for him for what he has done. And even in Akoko Edo too, the same thing. I think they complained that they didn't have enough representation in government and all that. So we're not too surprised, but I think what is important is that if you look at the total result where we want 13 local government, it goes to show that it's generally accepted in Edo State as a man they think can lead the state for the next four years. So some of us are not too surprised by the result.
Okay, Chris, yeah.
I think there are lessons to learn, in addition to all that Prof has said, for political parties and for the governor and the government itself to learn about the spreads. And I can speak authoritatively as one who was involved in the research during the elections. Now, Owan East and Owan West and Issaco, I don't know whether any of them gets your terrestrial broadcasts, for instance.
Of course, they do.
They get the satellite.
Yes, they do.
But I don't know if they have the terrestrial.
They get the terrestrial as well, yes. TV and radio.
Yes, so they are cut off from most parts of information that is going on in more enlightened area like Edo South. If you go to my village, they depend on oral tradition to understand what is going on in the state. There must be a conscious effort, maybe by private television stations like you and the government, to equip EBS and other news outlets to get these local people to participate. When I went there, I couldn't believe the kind of far-flung bogus information that these people were telling me. And I realized that these people were mostly cut off from the goings on in the state. And that is partly responsible for why you saw those results. So it was the best that people from Edo North, for example, could do to counter some of the very damaging narratives and some of the misinformation and disinformation that was going on. And that those young men who had Androids, how many of them in those local areas had Android, who were on WhatsApp that could lead them to the city? So that fight they had to fight. And that's why you find that in Edo North, for instance, in a local government like my own, that was war. Because of the work, we had to do extra work to ensure that information was properly disseminated, to counter much of the lies and disinformation that were being given about the governor, about the government, about deputy, about PDP, about this and about that. So we did that. Now, Edo Central, they had already what we call the ASAN agenda. It is not secret, it's public knowledge. And the justice attitude of the average Edo man approves of that ASAN agenda. Because for a long time, in the attitudes and maybe the policy, but especially the attitude of the political class, before Basel, Edo Central were beginning to question whether they were accepted in Edo State political movements and Edo State political activities and Edo State political progression because of the attitude of the ruling class. And so the ASAN people felt that they needed somebody who would preach the doctrine of integration, Okpamao, Akube, which Edo State is known for as one people. Obaseki understood this. And when he came into the message of Edo Central, that Obi did not spare in his campaigns to reinforce this from stage to stage, to say that Edo must come as one and rally around the concept of the fact that there should be equity in Edo State, the concept of the fact that every area must be taken care of by the government in power. So Edo Central already understood this agenda, and they also saw a liberalized environment and a liberalized party and a liberalized structure where if they vote will count. So the entire Edo Central voted. For Edo South could not understand the contradiction that a man came 4 years ago to tell them that one of their sons is indeed an anathema to their interests and the interests of Edo State, and came up with a lot of damaging revelations about man's activities and character. And then 4 years later, the same man is coming and he's coming from Edo South to come and tell them again that what he told them. They felt insulted, and they said they were going to let this man know that he should keep his antics to himself, not to any intelligent man. It is time we express to him that we know what we are doing. And so you find that the 7 local governments in Edo South. So what you saw reflecting the spread is a lot of factors. More important, as Prof said, is that the people have come of age to say, look, Edo is known for its unity because we all trace our origin to the past. We want no divisive politics. We want no strangers coming from Lagos, from Kano, and from all what else, who are in their own places rejected by their people. And if you are treating us, this is Midwest region, the only states who went several states and several communities were forming region in this country. Dr. Samuel of blessed memory and other Edo indigenous like Asemota and others of blessed memory decided that look, we are strong enough, we have enough education, we have enough resources to be a region. Midwest region comprises of only 2 states, the Prince Edo State and Delta. Go to the East Central State, Eastern region. It's what comprises of all the Igbo land today. Go to the Western region, what comprises of all the Yoruba land today, and the Northern region. We were a region because of our ingenuity And we knew those folks that attempt to become a region. We knew when we were under the Western region, what position they reserved for Edo people. And then we are going back there to recolonize us in an independent society. That somebody should come from Lagos to tell us who we are to vote for as Edo people. We are the only one that can trace our history back to God. And we are the only one that history of the world history recognized as a kingdom in Africa that was organized and was put in world history as far back as the 11th century. World history. Since this Edo kingdom that stretches from Onitsha down to Dahomey. If I Lagos Ego is Ego. It's a mini word for our history. So Edo people felt insulted, and this insult spread around the district. And people who are from the same ancestry and from the same origin who died to make the same. So that was trying to find the kind of spread that you had. So Obaseki can say today, I won in all the three senatorial districts of Edo State. And that is what he did. So what you have is an Edo people's government elected by Edo people.
Fantastic. Fantastic. If you just join us, you're on to Edo Sat live studios of independent television, just focusing on the celebrations that have trailed the outcome of this state governorship election, beginning from yesterday. In that video that you saw a while ago, you actually saw perhaps you saw the deputy governor, Comrade Felix Haibu, and the speaker of the State House of Assembly dancing Zanko there. It just reflects the mood. I mean, that was yesterday. We hope to be able to get Best Bureau to join us live and let us know what the situation is right now on the streets of Benin. But just quickly, gentlemen, is to look at the message of congratulations. Yes, that video I talked about earlier with the Deputy Governor there, His Excellency Comrade Felix Haibu, dancing and celebrating, and is joined by all our friends, family members, and supporters as celebrate the victory of PDP and Governor Obaseki himself in yesterday's election, as declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Yes, that's the mood. That's the mood. That's the mood. And then this is by the Samuel Ogunmudia Stadium, with supporters also trooping out there to celebrate that victory yesterday. Okay, I was about going on point that President Muhammadu Buhari didn't waste time to hail Governor Obaseki, to congratulate Governor Obaseki for his victory. In a statement issued by the spokesman, Daruba Shehu, Buhari congratulated the winner and urged him to show grace and humility in victory. The president, while reacting to the outcome of the election, said, "My commitment to free and fair elections is firm, because without free and fair elections, the foundation of our political and moral authority will be weak. I have consistently advocated for free and fair elections in the country because it is the bedrock of true democratic order. Democracy will mean nothing if the votes of the people don't count, or if their mandate is fraudulently tampered with." He lauded the people of Edo State, the political parties, the candidates, security agencies for conducting themselves responsibly. Godfatherism has ended in Nigerian politics. That's the statement from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. He went on to say, and let me just read it. Former President Atiku Abubakar said the outcome of the governorship election is an indication that godfatherism has ended in Nigerian politics. Atiku, while reacting to the victory of his party's candidate, in a statement said there was a new wind of democratic change blowing across Nigeria. Atiku, the presidential candidate of the PDP in 2019 general election, also asked the people of Ondo State to vote out the APC-led government in the state on October 10, 2020. Okay, gentlemen, let's quickly just look at the president's response to this election. Some have said, yeah, Mr. President has a body language, and that was expressed in this election. And then, of course, before the election, we also had the president saying that adequate security should be provided and all of that. Let's get your take on that.
Well, it's a very interesting development. Why? Because before now, Nigerian voters did not have much confidence in the electoral process, in view of the fact that they were especially afraid of this fear that their vote may not count. And we are aware that the election of 2019 was really mad with violence, vote buying, intimidations and all that. Security agents they seem to be involved and all that. And the local and international observers, their report did also favor the election to the extent that some international community, governments of some international community like US, Canada and Britain, even the EU were threatening that they are going to ban some Nigerian politicians from having access to their countries if the process of election in Nigeria is not improved upon. And we should also not forget that Nigeria is a member of a Committee of Nations, and Nigeria is seen in the international arena as a country that is supposed to lead Africa in terms of development, in terms of good democratic practices, in terms of, if you like, morality, and so on and so forth. So Nigeria is seen as that country that is supposed to be at the vanguard of democracy in Africa, because of our long experience, our population, our big economy, and so on and so forth. So, I think President Buhari must have taken all these variables into consideration. And as I look, let's use this Edo case as a test point, so that other nations will see us as a country that is trending towards genuine democracy. Because if we don't, it's going to affect our image before other countries of the world, other democratic countries of the world. And perhaps that was what informed the president to talk to all stakeholders involved in the election, INEC, security, especially security agents and political parties and politicians that are involved, that this time around they should ensure that things are done better. Because to the extent that they even threatening to deny visa to politicians who are seen to be involved in electoral malpractice and so on and so forth. So I think that was what now set the stage for the election that took place in Edo State, where everybody was alert, and security agents, INEC, and other state, even political parties, even Salam Abubakar, the former head of state, who was head of the peace mission, Kuka and the rest of them, they also came. Even the palace was also involved in this peace team to ensure that. So I think when all these variables were put into perspective, everybody now knew, voters, politicians, security agents, now knew it's not going to be business as usual. So the result of it is what we saw in the election, where it's now judged to be very, very free and fair. And don't forget that America and Britain specifically said that they are going to send their observers to ensure that whether Nigeria has moved away from the 2019 election that was very violent and so on and so forth, so that they will know what next action to take against the interests of Nigeria and the Committee of Nations. I think that was what informed the president to ensure that things worked out as a plan. Even a few days ago before the election, I don't know whether it was a mistake when one of the police officers was saying, your vote this time around the count. And I was like, oh, did the man know what he has just said? Which means previously the votes never counted. Yes, never counted. So it's a happy development. And like my brother and friend said, the country should not build on that. Yes, and what in the election, perhaps the 2023 election. You see, one thing we must realize about democracy is not just the winning of election, no. The process. Yeah, the process. And nations will, respect that country for the fact that the doctrine of democracy has been exercised, and the country will be respected. So but by the time you start to have a kangaroo type of elections and all that, the country is seen as a country that is not civilized, has not come of age, and that affects our image in the Committee of Nations. I think with Edo State is like Edo State is the engine room, that has tried to prepare that image, and we will just pray that it will go across all of the elections that will take place.
So Chris started by saying that when they have speak well, the rest of the body will function properly. Led by Mr. President, and then of course the PDP presidential candidate in the last general election. Yes, I'd like to get your talk.
I'm excited. You said the president, some say he has a body language. He does, I understand his body language. When he has a body language, and then he vocalizes that body language with one sentence at the final stage, and that's it. Okay. When I read before the election that he has said that the nation should be allowed to go smoothly and peacefully, and that security agents should do their work, and INEC should do their work, and that he's committed to democracy and a free and fair election, I knew, I kind of second-guessed how the election was going to go. You see, Buhari may have many faults and failings, but as he said, he's not impervious to all these shades of opinion and international prayer. He's not so impervious to the fact that he has suffered from the hands of this kind of skewed processes 4 times, to the point that he wept, in general has tears in the public space. So he tries to the level to which he can understand these days. He tries to ensure that he does the right thing for democracy. We cannot take this away from him. But as chief executive, he refused to interfere. He refused to allow himself to be persuaded by so many things around. He allowed and insisted that the security forces and the INEC should do their work. So to that we say kudos. But I'm particularly excited by Atiku. Atiku is a veteran in this game. And I took note that Atiku didn't say Godfatherism has ended in Edo State. He said in Nigeria. That goes to reinforce the point we are making, that the heartbeat, that is why people like Kuka. So what made the election so important? It was very important that we got it right. This is the heartbeat. If we get it right this time, we'll get it right in 2023. I can assure you, by benefit of hindsight of all the build-up, and then benefit of foresight of all that is going to happen up to now, that 2023 is going to give us a Nigerian president, just by this development. This development is a silent revolution. And the facts, and people have tasted blood, so to speak, in quotes, they discovered that, look, if we as a people...
No, they tasted honey. They tasted sugar. They tasted honey.
If we as a people can organize ourselves and state our resolve, we are looking for those men who have the courage in the national space that Waseki had in Edo State. and let us know their credentials. You know what went for Obaseki was that he had these credentials, which some people didn't know until the later hour. Yeah. The man spoke by development, not by rhetoric. Those who had the gift of gab, who were glib talkers, they didn't know that the people had gone beyond that. We are churning out graduates every day. The reasoning level, even if you say our educational standards are falling, what people still bring out of the university is useful for critical thinking. So the reasoning level of our use on social media, the ability to be able to put one and two together, to be able to hear from both sides and draw out their judgment, it's increasing every day. So people are no longer stupid. People are no longer uninformed. That you think that glib talking, rhetorics, and oratory will just wait there. Now, when Obaseki started to turn out his, for instance, the problem is a very important point that was very laughable. That you would think that somebody who is, or people who are planning to take over government have forest with MOU.
Let me just say this. Let's just take this, take a listen to this, one of the celebrations today. We'll be right back to talk more in the studios. This was earlier today. I'm sure the women's wing of the PDP, the party that emerged victorious, is after this election. Okay, a bit short one there, but we'll bring you more as they come into the live studio. But let's just allow Chris to the point. Yeah.
It was shocking and embarrassing. And actually, that was a political point. That a political group that's angry to take over power have friends with MOUs.
Yes.
You are worried that the state government is entering into memorandum of understanding, signing contractual agreements with people who want to come and invest in those states, so to be able to define the terms, in terms of contracts. Now, you have quarreled that. So you two are great business administration, the investing political science, they're embarrassed. So the point I'm making is that Edo State, people became so interested and are serving as a model. And Atiku has escalated it by saying, because for that reason has ended in Nigeria. In other words, Atiku is telling Nigerians to take a cue from Edo State, and that this is the way to go. Because he is a self-acclaimed Democrat, or he's a Democrat. Now he's saying this is the democratic way to go. We are proud in Edo State that when it was the time for kingdom, we led the kingdomship. And now it's time for democracy, we are leading in democracy. That is the reason. We have no personal grudge against any person. What we had grudge against was that hegemonic concept that the group of people is going to decide the fate of a race and the fate of any people. And we say, no, democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so we are glad at what has happened, and we are progressing in this stage.
Thank you very much, Chris. We'll just take a listen to these reactions that portrayed the outcome of this election, and we'll be right back with you.
Yes, of course, the victory of Godwin Obaseki is not just a victory of Godwin Obaseki, it's the victory of Edo people.
Days of my life I praise you. Everything that I have now you give to me. Lord, I say for your love I'm grateful. Yes, you love me plenty, you came to die for me. Jehovah. sorry to follow me. Jesus has given you victory. Come, let's dance, let's give it.
Of course, the jubilation in the air in Edo State over the victory of the PDP and Governor Obaseki's re-election for a second term. These are some of the videos that have been coming in. In the short while, we'll be bringing you more. But just to keep you up to speed with some of the messages that have been coming in for the state governor, we also showed you a while ago, we talked about the comment, the message by the PDP presidential candidate in the 2019 election, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. But we also got a message from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. He says, Nigeria has disappointed those who predicted massive disruption. He said he is satisfied with the conduct of the governorship election in Edo State. Let's quote him. Now, Nigeria has disappointed those who predicted massive disruption. Now, just to refer back to what you said relating to Atiku, Boss Mustafa didn't say Edo State. He said Nigeria has disappointed. So that tells you the message is spreading.
It's spreading.
Yes, it's spreading. Okay, then we just go down a little bit and check this one out from INEC chairman. He says, our staff must prove that Edo polls not a fluke. So it's still in the same direction of not localizing the what has transpired. Well, let me read that. INEC chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu has challenged all INEC staff and participants in the conduct of polls in the country to prove that the success in Edo was not a fluke, but the standard in the conduct of election. He expressed appreciation to all those who worked to make the governorship election a huge success. He spoke yesterday while winding down on the election. All right, we're just trying to ensure that our Zoom facility is ready when we'll need it for the live feed on the election. Then our former national chairman, Chief John Digi Oyegun, has said that with the governorship election in Edo State, President Buhari has shown that credible election is possible in Nigeria. That's the former chairman of APC. He said that the APC would bounce back in subsequent election as it had learned lesson from past mistakes. All right, and then from former Senate President Bukola Saraki, Obaseki's victory has symbolic meanings. And if we read that, it said the victory of Obaseki has several symbolic representations for Nigeria and its democracy. In a statement by his media officer, Saraki said the victory represented the determination of the good people of Edo State to decide who governs the state and to ensure their votes count at all times. He commended President Buhari for keeping the military out of the election, saying that the outcome represents the fact that our security and electoral officials can conduct free and fair elections if they have the right atmosphere. It's a triumph for democracy over imposition. That's PDP governors are speaking there. Governor of Sokoto State and Chairman PDP Governors Forum Aminu Waziri Tambuwal said in a statement yesterday that the outcome of the election was triumph for democracy over imposition. All right, we can give you more. We can give you more, but it's just one I want to quickly bring to your attention now. From Kaduna State comes this response on the election which ended on Saturday. Opinion polls showed APC will win Edo election. I don't know what happened. Governor El-Rufai is speaking there. Let me take an excerpt from that one as well. It says, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai said he was optimistic up to 3 weeks ago, but that his party, the All Progressives Congress, will win the Edo State governorship election. He said opinion polls conducted had shown that the APC candidate Osage Ezeyamo would win the election, adding that he didn't know what went wrong in the last 3 weeks of the campaign. All right. According to Punch, the Independent National Electoral Commission declared the candidate. Well, of course, we're already in the know of that. Let me just take an excerpt again from this one. It says, El-Rufai said, "We APC would have loved to win, and quite frankly, I was optimistic up to 3 weeks ago. The polls indicated that we were going to win. I don't know what happened in the last 3 weeks of the campaign. As you know, a large number of voters make up their minds in the last 2 weeks of the election. Many voters decide, no matter what happened, this is how I'm voting. But most people want to wait and make up their minds in the last 2 weeks. 3 weeks ago, the polls clearly showed that APC was going to win, but the result came out differently from what we expected." Now, I'm asking a question: when was this polls conducted, and at what point was it released? Because I know that 2 polls that came out. One was the polar poll or something like that. That was after the
poll,
after the election debate.
Yes.
But that wasn't really a poll of some sort. I'm sure people misunderstood that poll. It was something that was done to sort of put some pressure on the candidates to be available for the debate. That was why that poll. But people saw it as an opportunity to express themselves. And then somehow when the result was released, it was different interpretation. I really don't know the poll that Governor El-Rufai is talking about, that he said 3 weeks ago indicated the direction in the election would go. Maybe Prof, by virtue of his academic powers, will be able to tell us.
It's funny because when you say polls, you have independent bodies that normally conduct polls.
Yeah.
And based on that, then now, and these independent bodies are well known, you know.
Let me just possible, Prof, and this live feed the victory parade of the governor and the PDP over last Saturday's election. Just take a listen. We'll be back with you to talk more. Okay, Best Mbiri is live with us on the victory parade by Governor Basaki and the PDP over last Saturday's election. Best, thanks again for joining this live broadcast. We're seeing pictures. You're on the ground and you have a better interpretation of the atmosphere at the King Square. Best, if you can hear me, just go ahead and give us the report on how the situation is where you are right now. Hello, Best. Okay, a bit of a serious network challenge there, but Best will get back to us in a jiffy, and then we'll hear more on what's happening right now at the King Square on the victory parade by Governor Obaseki, his deputy, as well as members of the People's Democratic Party who emerged victorious in the governorship election, which took place on Saturday. There's still a special coverage of the celebration that have continued to trail Saturday's governorship election in Edo State. Well, let me come back to our panelists here, Christopher, Jekiri, and Prof. Yeah, Prof, we were talking about the poll conducted 3 weeks ago, which Governor El-Rufai referred to, and I'm saying that many people are not even aware of these polls. Yeah, let's get your take on this.
Well, like I was trying to say earlier, we have independent bodies that are highly recognized for polls conduct. Okay. But we are not aware, and I think most of us here are not aware of such polls being conducted. Maybe it's an internal poll of APC. Okay. You know, parties
which is allowed.
Yeah,
in any case,
it's allowed. You know, but it cannot be taken as authentic because each party will try to protect its own interests. Okay. But if we go to the debate thing, I think there was an international body that conducted that poll after the debate. And what they merely did was to seek the opinion of participant viewers and say, hey, of these two individuals that have debated, who do you think performed? I think based on that, they came up with the statistics that Obaseki scores 76.7%, while Izeyamu scored 23.3%. And so I think with that, one would have expected that statistics to be taken as opinion poll in terms of who people are like or who performed during the debate. Because if you go to advanced democracies like the US, Britain, and the rest of them, these debates they are normally weighed, and percentages are given to who performed and who did not perform, and it's a very serious matter in advanced democracy because voters normally use that to decide who they are going to vote for, because your ability to marshal what you are going to do for the state or for the country determines whether you are ready for the job or not. And so I think to that extent, we say the party who won today, Obaseki, who won the elections on Sunday, I think what Nigerians are saying, what those who judged the debate that took place, I think they are saying that he's the one that is much more ready for the job. And the result of the election has proved the so-called semi-polls, if you like, to be correct. So that is why some of us are not too surprised why he won. And even besides that, individuals have been doing some polls. Like I carried out some independent poll to say, okay, between these two candidates, who do you think you are likely to vote for? And the three polls I carried out, favored the Cuban government.
Yeah, well, that's an independent poll.
No, I use the word.
Yes,
I use the word
independent poll. Yeah,
I use the word independent.
Yes, yes.
But at the end of the day, what the result of the election has proved my independent poll to be correct.
All right, Chris. I like to, El-Rufai, we know is such a brilliant guy, also a force to be reckoned with. I mean, not just because he's a governor in the politics of Nigeria right now. Yeah, so I like to get your take on his reaction to the outcome of the election. Not like he congratulated the governor, but he said that he's surprised at the outcome of the election. He doesn't live here. He doesn't live in Edo State.
El-Rufai is very brilliant and very well informed. but in quote, you know, in a lighter mood, it's also very mischievous. El-Rufai could just be insinuating that APC might have got it wrong 3 weeks to the election when they began to heighten the participation and interference of the Lagos warlords. For him, the polls obviously which they conducted within the APC, that is not in public knowledge and public space. Because if they had conducted any poll, it would be in public space. And any poll, go by the private one conducted by Prof here, and the one conducted by the international body, all the polls we saw on social media favored Obaseki.
Yes.
So that is anonymous poll might have been conducted, as Prof said, by the APC. It was not in public space. But he is saying to his party, investigate when this hand of the God started to turn against us. It's about 3 weeks ago when some players from within our party decided to be interfering in Edo politics. He suspects that is when Edo people, and the reason I say that is this, and I said it this month here, that my cousin said to me that he was supporting Oshomole and the APC until 2-3 weeks ago when Oshomole involved Tinubu in Edo's election. My cousin told me this last night, and he said that's when they lost him. And you see, there are people who shouldn't have been involved, I don't want to begin to mention names, in this election, because they represent a thinking and a past that people are sure to put away from their experiences. But in their own megalomanic and hubris, they thought they were the in thing. They thought they were the trend and they were the thing people wanted. That's not what we want. We want democratic independence. So if El-Rufai is looking for what could have happened, I'm giving him that suggestion to investigate that line of thought I have just posed. But if he conducted the poll, we are not aware of such poll in Edo State. Okay. All the polls that we saw, social media anywhere, favored Obaseki.
Now, I understand that Reverend Father Agbalaho composed a new song after the election took place on Saturday. You're seeing the video right now, but I'd like you to take a listen to Reverend Father Agbalaho's song, and we'll be right back with you. Stay with us.
1, 2, go. Under the umbrella, Obaseki claimed the victory. Under the umbrella, Obaseki claimed the victory. Under the umbrella. Hip, 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 hooray! Talk back.
Okay, brand new song from Reverend Father Alfred Agbalaho, and you heard the song a while ago, and that was followed by the women groups who are also celebrating. We're back to the studio now, hoping Bess can reconnect with us as soon as possible so we can actually bring you more of the live feeds or what is happening on the victory parade by Governor Obaseki and the PDP over last Saturday's election success. Prof, yeah.
Yes, we're talking about opinion polls and all that. Within that same period, that was sometimes last week, Chief Tony Momo, a chieftain of APC, he said, I'm sorry to say that based on what is on ground and the information that is coming to him, that Obaseki is likely to win the election. This is an APC person. And that he has worked so hard that people now believe in him. So the interesting thing, if an APC chieftain can be saying this, it means That is the reality on ground. And that is the, if you like, the opinion thing we're talking about. It's not just being sentimental. I think generally, if you go to, even before the election, if you go to any street in Benin and gather 5 people and say, whom are you likely to vote for? We know where the thing is going to.
All right, let's take a look at what we're seeing on the screen. The crowd just keeps surging forward in celebration. Just take a look at this. We'll be back with you in a moment. Yes, of course, that video was the takeoff of the victory parade from Government House earlier today before they got to the King's Square, where the celebration was in its highest momentum. You're still onto the special broadcast of the victory parade of the PDP and the state governor after Saturday's governorship election. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. I'm sure in the closing stages of this program, we'll also give you an opportunity to air your views. I mean, say something about the election itself. That will be coming up in the later part of this conversation. Okay, now, a whole lot is happening. Some of the things that we talked about in terms of expectations, how all of this will extrapolate and cascade into Nigeria, is already gaining momentum, even from the comment from, reasonable number of people. But I'm just trying to see other comments made by very, very eminent Nigerians over the outcome of Saturday's governorship election. All right. Factional chairman of the APC in Edo State, the chairman of APC in Edo State, Asam Ojezwa, has expressed mixed feelings that Governor Godwin Obaseki didn't get re-elected on the platform of the APC. He says, and I quote, "I received this news with mixed feelings. I'm sad that the governor didn't secure this victory on the platform of APC." Ojezwa said in Benin while reacting to the victory of Obaseki. All right, then we also have reactions from the PDP Senate and Reps Caucus, who have also congratulated Governor Obaseki. The Senate Minority Caucus has congratulated Governor Obaseki over his victory in the governorship election in Edo State. In a statement by the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Inaya Abaribe, the caucus said the victory signals a new dawn and the ultimate end of godfatherism in Nigerian politics. Also, a former deputy president of the Senate, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, described the Edo election exercise as a huge relief and described it as the dwindling fortunes of the nation's electoral process in recent years. This has really helped to bring that to the front burner. We're waiting to see how all of these will, continue to be part of our electoral process, just to ensure that we sustain it. Now, there's one of the reactions that I have seen that is quite intriguing. Senator Rocha Sokorocha says, APC loss, massive revolution against injustice. That's what he said. Let me just read the next slide. It says, a founding member of the APC and former governor of Imo State, Senator Rocha Sokorocha, said that Saturday's Edo governorship election, where the APC lost to the incumbent Governor Obaseki, was a massive revolution against injustice. Okocha said he would not congratulate the PDP, but the people of Edo State who stood against injustice. Also, a former governorship candidate in the 2019 governorship election in Imo State, Ugumba Uche Uwonsu, said what happened on Saturday was not unexpected, as it was bad that some people wanted voters to accept a candidate they never wanted. And then also reacting, a senior member of APC Chief Sam Nkire has also reacted to the outcome of last Saturday's election. The reactions continue to pour in, and from the PDP, PDP has congratulated its candidate on his re-election for a second term. Addressing a press conference on Sunday in Abuja, the PDP National Publicity Secretary Kola Ologbodiyan implored President Buhari to continue in what he called his newfound spirit of ensuring that the people were allowed to freely choose their leaders at all elections. The party also asked INEC to guarantee credible governorship election in Ondo State on October 10, 2020 and October 31, 2020 legislative by-elections in 8 states of the Federation. All right, and then the APC DG Governorship Campaign Council in Edo State, as the governor of Kano State, has also spoken through his aide, Saliu Tanko Yakasai, the special advisor to the governor, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, on media, said the outcome of the election has great lessons for the APC, not just in Edo, but also at the center. Yakasai, on his certified Twitter handle at Dawisu, said, but most importantly, the outcome has some insight into the future of the party as well. Let's look inward and outward and do some soul searching for our survival. His boss was the chairman of the APC's campaign team for the election that saw the defeat of the party at the polls. That's exactly some of the reactions that have trailed Edo State governorship election. Online, the reactions are there. On the ground, the reactions are there.
Jason is very interesting.
In the air, the reactions are there. We'll take, yes. So let's take it off from Rocha Sokorocha and then Ganduje's comment. Yes, Prof.
Yes, I'm not too surprised, because if you look at the crisis that have been that took place in 2019 elections, where Oshomole played a major role. Some of the contestants, especially during the primaries, were not too comfortable, too happy with the role Oshomole played, because they accused him that he didn't allow the primary to take place the way it's supposed to be, that they have some preferred candidate as against others. And Okorocha was the in-law, Wosu, tends to be a victim of that accusation against the then national chairman of APC. To the extent that the APC governors were divided. There are some who were on the side of Oshomole. There are others who were on the side of the former governor of Rivers, who is now the transport minister. So there was division, and that division was not too heady for the party, okay. Because at the end of the day, somebody like Okorocha was not too happy about what transpired for not allowing his son-in-law to become the governorship candidate of the party. And that was carried over because on one side, those on Oshomole's side, they saw Tinubu as their godfather, and they were doing everything to satisfy him. And why? Because Tinubu himself also believed that 2023, Oshomole is likely to play a major role in his presidential ambition. Yeah. And therefore, he never saw anything wrong with what the grandson was doing. And so Oshomole carried that belief over his shoulder, and he was policing, everybody, and believing that everybody is under his control. And I think that was what also affected his relationship with Governor Obaseki, because records has it that the Edo State House of Assembly, they compiled a list, comprising of agreement between the governor and the party. And at the end of the day, the list was altered. And that list being altered, these new 14 names came into the list. And the 14 names are what they call the runaway Edo State House of Assembly members. And the whole idea was that it was believed that Oshomole wanted to use those 14 individuals to remove Obaseki from office. In fact, Shaibu confirmed it during the campaign that they wanted him to become the governor. And he said, no, I'm loyal to the governor, and I will continue to be loyal to the governor. So, and when Obaseki got wind of it, that is why overnight, 10 people were sworn in as Edo State House of Assembly members. And the 14 people remained in Abuja, believing that one day something positive will happen. And they were waiting and waiting until it was time for election. So they came from nowhere and decided to sit and in a private house and all that and all that. And the governor was also very fast. You know, there was now automatic need to renovate the State House Assembly complex, and all that and all that. And the removing rules of the Edo State House of Assembly complex is not new. It happened during Oshomole's time. We're also aware that members of the assembly were also operating from government house. So it's like what father taught his son is what was repeated. So I think all this played out. And that is why if you watch very well, the APC governors, some of the governors were not really actively involved. Their body language was clear in Isa Yamu's campaign. In fact, at a point, there was a grand final of the campaign that was supposed to take place at Gareka Memorial at Kenwa that never held because most of the APC governors were not present. So I think, like my friend said, I think people were not too comfortable with Oshomole, you know, hijacking the whole campaign thing. And we could recall that the early part of September, the president invited Oshomole and said, hey, ensure that this election is free and fair, there's no violence and all that. And when he came back, he opened up. And when press people took him up, what discussion did you have with the president? He said, well, the president wants a free and fair election, and we have to maintain peace. And so, but it was clear what the president said. And the build-up to all this is what led to dissatisfaction and then the disorganization of APC, to the extent that some APC members even took Eze Yamu to court, saying that the way he emerged as the party flag bearer was illegal, because he came through the second party chairman, Emuse, as against Aslemojezwa, barrister Aslemojezwa, that is recognized by court judgment of November 2019 as the authentic chairman. So all these variables played out, and it didn't favor the party. So, and thereafter, Obaseki was not allowed to participate in the primary because he was disqualified until Nacross, and that made him to cross over to PDP. And at the end of the day, because of what happened to him, how the whole thing played out, if you watch the president's body language, when he dissolved the National Working Committee of APC, it was clear. He had already prepared it and read it and said, "I hereby dissolve." And the body language was so. Thereafter, you could see that his whole idea about election was a change. That's the body language we are talking about. Go out there, I told security agent, INEC, and all those other stakeholders, go out there and ensure that the election is free and fair. You know, because he was fed up with all this godfatherism, causing problems here and there and all that. So I think what the comments we are hearing now is a reflection of this historical perspective, which I've just enumerated. Yes.
All right, Chris, you want to comment on that?
Yes.
Because I'm particularly intrigued by comment by Gabriel. You said, yes, the outcome is for inward. The things look inward, reflection. Yeah, reflection, and then outward, yeah.
Yes. There is no doubt that the APC is in disarray. As we speak now, that party has no constituted, elected National Executive Council. It is being run by a caretaker committee, which is not recognized either by the APC's constitution or the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But they are just carrying on and looking towards where and whom, I don't know, to provide the leadership. The APC leadership cannot sit down to say, let's take the bulls by the horn and get ourselves, and get our acts together and get ourselves a National Executive Committee. The president, by fiat, as the prof said, read a communique that suspended the APC National Executive Committee.
Working committee.
Well, yeah, National Working Committee. Okay, National Working Committee. Now, Oshomole, before the election, was carrying on as if he's still the national chairman of APC.
Exactly.
But when Oshomole went to see Buhari, I was asking, by what strength is Oshomole representing the party of Edo State to go and see Buhari? It's by the strength of influence. It's the legal backing. So Ganduje saw all of this. And that is why when he wanted to raise his head, when he was given the glorified title of being the chairman of APC Campaign Council, and then he thought he would talk, Edo people, intelligent as we are, reminded him of all the things that he needed to be reminded. And then his voice became subdued from that time. It was then he knew that all those grandstanding Oshomole was showing to them was not a reflection of our thinking at home and our position at home. And so he waited to see the outcome. And having seen the outcome, I respect him. And he made this comment that this is a time for sober reflection. I wrote an article that Oshomole, having had the kind of misfortune he had at the national level, what we thought he would have done was to come down and do what Ganduje is doing now. As a Sagenarian, 8 years of age, he ought to have sat down in his house at TMO and begun to reflect. Not to be seen on stages of Edo State. My cousin told me that at the time he became confused whether Oshomole was contesting the election.
Let's just take this video now. This video is one of the videos of the victory parade. Let's take a look at this and we'll be back with you in a moment.
We are now at the Reservation Road in Benin City, where the governor of the state, Mr. Gordon Obaseki, the deputy governor, Governor Philip Shaibu, the national vice chairman of the PDP South Chief Danobi, the speaker of the House of Assembly, Right Honorable Frank Sizokiye, and other leaders of the party are on the streets. Not too long we left the government house. We are still around the GRA, but we're heading now to the Abba Square houses. Supporters of the PDP, the ones I can capture right now are more than what we can see at the moment. We are now at the Reservation Road in Benin City, where the Governor of the State, Mr. Gordon Obaseki, the Deputy Governor, Governor Philip Shaibu, the National Vice Chairman of the PDP South Chief Danobi, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Right Honorable Frank Sizokiye, and other leaders of the party are on the streets. Not too long we left the government house. We are still around the GRA, but we're heading now to the Ababa Square houses. Supporters of the PDP, the ones I can capture right now are more than what we can see at the moment. We are now at the Reservation Road in Benin City, where the Governor of the State, Mr. Gordon Obaseki, the Deputy Governor, Governor Philip Shaibu, the National Vice Chairman of the PDP South Chief Danobi, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Right Honorable Frank Sizokiye, and other leaders of the party are on the streets. Not too long we left the government house. We are still around the GRA, but we're heading now to the Ababa Square houses. Supporters of the PDP, the ones I can capture right now are more than what we can see at the moment.
Okay, thanks again for staying with us as we continue to bring you the coverage of the Thank You Victory Parade by Edo State Governor Gordon Obaseki and his deputy and other chieftains of the People's Democratic Party following last Saturday's victory at the Edo State governorship election. Gentlemen, one more time, thank you for being a part of this live studio program. Christian, we're talking about Ganduje's reaction to the election through his special advisor, media.
Yes, so I say I respect him for this, his sobriety. And I believe, or I hope, that his party will take his advice, which is timely and very sagacious, that this is the time for inward reflection. He said he's optimistic that they will bounce back. Or was it Erufai that said that he was optimistic they will bounce back? They will do that when they put into practice their own APC constitution. When they sit down and employ dialogue and all that they need to do to ensure that the house is kept as one. So, but I respect that he took this position rather than complaining, rather than insisting to subvert the will of Edo people. He respected our will. He's seeing what we are seeing now. He knows that this was the people that this is the people that have spoken, and so he says the blame is entirely on his own party, the APC. We hope the governorship candidate of the APC here will take a cue from that and then congratulate the present governor and the present governor-elect. I have not read anywhere, and up to now I've not seen it on public television, that Izeyamu has congratulated Governor Obaseki.
We heard that, I think on his official Twitter handle, on his official Twitter handle, that's been done. But
he's congratulated.
Yes.
Yeah, because as yesterday, they say the returning officer did not sign the instruction that he shouldn't sign the result sheet. Yes. Yes. Has he signed that now? So we want him, that is the only way he can now express to Edo people that he has respect for us, by respecting the choice that we have made. That, okay, he had tried to offer something, but we have said no to whatever he's trying to offer. We understand what God has offered, we understand what he's offering, and we have understood the vision. People cannot sit there. What he should do now is to join us, to say, I am going to join my hands with my brother to ensure we move a step forward. I'm going to join my hands with my brother to ensure that this new birth, this Renaissance democracy that Edo State has pioneered and are precursors for, I'm going to join the need to ensure that it's pressed down to Nigeria. So that we begin with Ondo. By the time we have gone to Ondo and ensure that Ondo people's will is respected. We don't know who their choice and will is going to be, but we will judge that Ondo people will also choose for themselves who they want to at the saddle. So Ganduje has done something very good. The president has done something very good. It's only Erufai who is there to understand what they're doing, and he has implied that he's going back to the party to investigate what happened 3 weeks to the election. Okay. I think with the fact that this is causing some bad reflection in the heart of these people, it makes it a better thing.
All right, so we're hoping to see that former congratulatory message from the APC candidate. I heard there was a message on his official Twitter handle. I'm not able to verify that. But in line with what you were saying just now, we'll quickly look at the reaction from the head of the media unit of the APC campaign council. But before that, we got this one from a senior member of APC, Chief Sam Nkire, who described the outcome of the Edo State governorship election as victory for democracy. Chief Nkire, who is a member of the national caucus of the APC, said that both the PDP and the APC had a democratic lesson to learn from President Buhari's patriotism and transparency when it comes to election conduct. All right, so let's take you back to some other reactions that have trailed the outcome of Saturday's election. I'm trying to get to where we had the chairman of the media team of the APC campaign council in Edo State, Junior Mayaki, to read out his reaction, which is there in the public domain. All right, this says, APC campaign council rejects results, alleges foul play. Meanwhile, the APC in Edo State has alleged foul play in the governorship election. The party, however, thanked its members and called on them to remain calm while its leaders studied the result and took a decision on what to do next. A statement by the chairman of the APC Media Campaign Council, Mr. John Mayaki, said the party rejected the result, citing alleged strong-arm tactics. Mayaki said, and I quote, "Our people were arbitrarily arrested while many of the figures were fabricated. Areas where we won, they cancelled them. They decreased the votes in areas we had advantage. They rejected our results and jerked up theirs." He said Obaseki's allegation that he was being reached out at the initial stage was to divert attention from the evil being perpetrated in the field by the PDP. That's coming from John Mayaki. Joe, want to react to this?
Mayaki understands those who the ambit of day. The DHEY would cover the ruling party at the fair, his own party. And who are the day? Who conducted the election? Who decreased his results that they were increased? Who took people out? He didn't say it was Obaseki, he said they. Is he saying that the federal government and the federal institution worked against his own party? You know, when we are talking in public space, when you say they, who are they? The election was conducted by a federal institution, Independent National Electoral Commission. When you want to make accusation, you are specific. You would say, INEC decrease your result in places where you had population, you name the people. So what I think they're doing, and in Edo State we do understand that, you don't beat a baby and you say they should not cry. He said, he's spokesman for the campaign council, and he said they are studying the result. And then he makes this, allegations. But that vague word, I'm not happy with it. He shouldn't say they. He should say this person or this institution did this. He's not able to say that. So we are appealing to them now that for the sake of Edo State, not having got any evidence-based, position to be, against the will of the people, let him just accept the result. And he should, since he has spoken to us, we are sending him back. He should advise the campaign council, APC campaign council, to say, look, let's let this go. According to the Twitter handle that you read now, if it is authentic.
I think we have something that's a bit more current compared to that, because I expressed my reservation about the comment from the Twitter handle. From Vanguard now, we're quoting Vanguard now, it says, breaking, I'm still studying results. We'll announce my next move, says Isaiah. So let me read that. That story was filed in by 14 Sunday of Vanguard newspaper. It says, as after the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC announced the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Governor Obaseki, winner of Saturday's gubernatorial election, the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Pastor Osage Isaiah Sunday, said he was studying the results, noting that he would announce his next move. Isaiah had yesterday commended the electoral process, saying, I'm confident of a win. I'm confident of a win this election. The process is good and going on smoothly. There is no thuggery, violence. The place is peaceful and calm. That was in the earlier part of yesterday. That was on Saturday, really. Yeah. So let's look at, I'm happy that INEC has a thermometer to check the temperature, and they also give out face masks to people. We encourage our people to come out in batches so they can strictly adhere to the COVID-19 protocols of social distancing. Today, Obaseki secured 307,955 votes across 18 local government areas, while Osage Isaiah polled 223,619. Governor Obaseki used a margin of 84,336 votes to defeat Pastor Osage Isaiah. Reacting hours after the announcement, Isaiah via his Twitter handle opined, I thank and appreciate my supporters who had to endure many evils, including being prevented from voting, for their support and determination during the election. I assure you all that I'm studying the results along with our party members and will announce next move soon. All right? I thank and appreciate my supporters. Now you can see that's a statement on his official Twitter handle. I thank and appreciate my supporters who had to endure many evils, including being prevented from voting, for their support and determination during the election. I assure you all that I'm studying the results along with other party members and will announce my next move soon. That's Pastor Sage Isaiah. I think this is where we are.
Yes,
this is where we are.
I'm very surprised because
you don't have to be surprised because the election you don't have to be surprised at his reaction.
Yes, surprised in the sense that the election, both locally and internationally, have been judged to be free and fair. And he has his agents at the various polling stations and units. And the reactions from APC chieftains also point to the fact that the result of the election is acceptable, especially from the national leader of the party, which is the President Buhari. Buhari will not just congratulate Obaseki, in just like that. He must have been briefed. Yes, he must have been briefed about the conduct of the election, if the election was free and fair. I think on the basis of his satisfaction that the election was free and fair, he decided to formally congratulate Governor Obaseki. And he didn't just congratulate him. He said from now on that he's hoping that the election is going to be free and fair, that he's going to do everything possible to ensure that it sustains this type of election where people will be happy to exercise their franchise. And that has gone to, and his secretary to the federal government, Mustafa, also made similar statements that enemies have been put to shame, who were thinking that the Edo State election will be bloody, there'll be crisis, there'll be violence. But at the end of the day, it was smooth. The whole world saw it, everybody is praising the election as free and fair. So if those at the top party hierarchy are giving credence, to the election to be free and fair, then the individual involved, I'm not saying that a child that is beaten should not cry, but a child that is beaten should cry a reasonable cry, and not this.
But Prof, I think I just want to add that, at the time he made this statement, it was based on the information available to him, that he's studying the situation and that his next move will be made known. I think all of these comments will be better made when his next move
but he has
is made.
He has criticized the process.
I mean,
he criticized the process.
There is no perfect election. Whether we like it or not, as free, as fair, as credible as this election seems to be, there are certainly lapses here and there, which
normal.
of course can be improved upon. So his comment is predicated on what is available to him. So let's give him time to digest the gamut of information at his disposal and then make his final statement or his final mood before some of these comments will be justifiable.
I thought it's not, it's just an individual, but we are talking about the party.
Yes, he said he was going to also consult with his party before that final next move will be made, and I believe will be made public. I need you to build on this, Chris Jickery.
Yes, the only problem I have is with consistency in statement. What you showed to us, which is there, he made the first statement about his satisfaction with the election and optimism to win, and he declared that there is no forgery, the election is smooth during the election. Are you following me? And I assume that he made that statement from the information he's got from his agents that are the various polling units, because he's the last man to make a statement as the candidate. Before he would make a statement, he would have aggregated opinions and he would have aggregated the reports he would get from the field. So he made the election. And then that same election, which he has just credited to be absent of thuggery and all of that, the election ends. And then at the end of the election, you say the process was right, but the conclusion was wrong. That's why I have the problem with inconsistency. If the process was right, the logical sequence is that the conclusion will be right. So I agree that he has to be given that he has the rights and he has the liberty to do all the studies. We are only trying to advise him that by all the things that are happening here in the States, which I'm sure if he's on television now he will be saying, by all the things we had known before now and by now, and all the things that all these people Prof mentioned have also known, the only wise way to go is to cooperate.
That's it.
Yes, with the governor to say, let us move EDO forward. I think I saw it in one of his posters.
Yes.
Yes, and say, let us move EDO forward. I think that is the most important thing now that should be on the table of every EDO man, to say we have achieved success in democracy. We have achieved a democratic success in Edo State. Let us move Edo forward. So we would like to appeal to Pastor Izeyamu to toe that line. Do all the studies he wants to study. He's going to find out in his studies that every result sheet in the hands of every of the agents in the units tallies with what was sent to INEC portal.
Yes.
So and that's why I quarreled with Mayaki's day. Because if the result sheet in the hand announced by INEC officials tally with what is on their portal, and that result sheet was signed in the presence of all the agents of the parties that participated, there is no day for anywhere. As Izayamu said, there was no forgery, there was no fight. So everything went smoothly.
Probably have spoken specifically about where he voted.
Who?
Yes, Pastor Izayamu. Probably may have spoken.
Oh, no,
about
he said he's confident he will win. He
Yes.
won't declare the election by only his unit.
Yeah.
So before he would have said he's confident he will win, then he must have got feeds from other units and realized that what was happening in his unit. In fact, for instance, I told my wife when we were at home voting, I said, look, if the election can be as peaceful in other places as it is here in my unit where I'm voting, then Edo can begin to rejoice that we have achieved a very successful
And if we even remember what the former president said in 2015 presidential election, President Jonathan, former President Jonathan, even before the last count was made, when he saw how the election went, you know, it was peaceful and all that, he said, look, he picked up the phone and called President Buhari and congratulated him, even when the election was not concluded. You see, that is sportsmanship. That is a Democrat. So we're advising Pastor Yamuto to that same line, yes, because, you know, the interest of the country is more paramount, you know, compared to personal interest. So according to a political scientist, Morgan Tao, he said personal interest may vary. He said, but national interest is constant. You know, so I think you should look at it from that perspective. And being a man of God, a special man of God, I think he should, you know, allow.
All right, let's get the studio line opened, and so you can also be part of the conversations on the outcome of Edo State governorship election. 052-290-573. From wherever you're watching across the world, you can take advantage of that number, and let's get your views, your opinions on Edo 2020 governorship election. Election is won and lost. As we speak at the moment, there is a victory parade, a thank you victory parade by the governor, his deputy, the Speaker of Edo State House of Assembly, Francis Okiye, and other chieftains of the PDP around major streets in Benin. The thank you victory parade actually started with the people converging in Government House, and then there was a movement from Government House through Golf Course Road down to Ovaramwe Square. That's what you're watching right now. Yeah, this is Golf Course Road, and then from this point, that's the governor and his deputy, Felix Shaibu. Behind them, you can see the South-South PDP chairman, Chief Dan Obi, there, and other members of the party, supporters on the ground walking. I mean, they're not really bothered about the distance. They're not bothered about the stress of doing this long walk, which is more or less like an endurance trek, but they are willing to make these sacrifices to demonstrate their joy and excitement about how the election went yesterday. So let's take this call. Hello, caller. Good afternoon, and tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Lagos. This is Mr. Paul.
Mr. Paul from Lagos. Go